So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be relatively brief, but this is a critical issue. There, I don't think is any priority greater for government than keeping our residents safe. And if you don't feel safe in your home and in your neighborhood, nothing much else matters in your life. We've seen what's happened in America with COVID. Violent crime is up in cities across the state and across the country, and they're up for a clear reason. The criminal court system shut down in this country in March of 2020 because you couldn't put 12 jurors in a jury room. And for 2 to 3 years, criminal cases were canceled. Defendants had no reason to strike a plea bargain because they knew they had no trial coming. The jails were overcrowded, so people have been released in cities across the country that would have never been released on bond otherwise. And the number of individuals who for 2 or 3 years have not been subject to the adjudication of the system being on the street has caused a lot of other folks who normally hadn't been carrying illegal weapons to feel a need to carry them. And so beefs across America have turned into shootings. We know what's causing it. We know what the strategies are to deal with it. But we aren't going to reverse what COVID has done to the criminal justice system without a sustained effort. And so I really appreciate Representative Farhat sponsoring this legislation, but our concept is a relatively simple one, but I think an important one, that the 4% sales tax, as the members know, currently are designated for a portion of it for schools, a portion of it for transportation. We don't want to touch that. But after the current obligations are met, we're proposing that 1.5%, or about $100 million a year, goes into a law enforcement violence prevention trust fund. And what we want to see happen is that money targeted to those communities that have the most violent crime. If we're going to reduce violent crime in this country, we need to put resources into the communities that are addressing it. And strategies to reduce violent crime are not going to be law enforcement alone. You are going to need mental health professionals to assist with the very serious mental health issues we have. You're going to need outreach workers who can engage ahead of time. And we're going to propose using almost 40% of our money for neighborhood police officers. These are the officers who spend time in the community. And when two neighbors are beefing over somebody playing their music too loud or dumping their leaf clippings on the neighbor's property, resolve the issue at an early stage and not let it escalate. If we had applied the formula strictly, the city of Detroit has about 31% of the violent crime in this state. We wanted to make sure this was a bill that would benefit everybody. So what Representative Farhat has done is capped the amount any one city can get at 25% of the pool, which means $6 million that would have gone to Detroit by formula is going to be redistributed to the other cities who all have very significant needs. And then I just make one last point before taking questions. We've had members say, if you do this strictly by violent crime, you're incentivizing cities to let their crime rate run up to get more money. And of course, that isn't any of our intention. And so we will be offering an amendment that I know the sponsor is going to be proposing shortly, but the concept would be this. The way that we propose the distribution be is a 3-year average of violent crimes from fiscal years 19, 20, and 21. So you could have a blip one year, but a 3-year average is appropriate. What we're suggesting is this. The funding would start at 23, 24. I sat with the other large city mayors and said, there are legislators who want accountability if there's going to be new money. You can't supplant, which means these are going to be new officers, new mental health outreach workers, new violence prevention workers. But any city that doesn't reduce its violent crime rate by 5% in 2025 gets a 5% reduction in their funding in the 26-27 year. Any community that does not reduce their violent crime by 10% in 2027 will get a 10% reduction in 27, 28, and beyond. The mayors are comfortable with this. We are performance driven by nature. And our attitude is If you are providing us additional resources, we are confident we can get the violent crime rate down and make our community safer. And if we can't, we have no problem with the money being redistributed in part to those who can. And so we just think this right now, certainly it is the most urgent issue facing the city of Detroit. I think it's the most urgent issue facing a number of cities. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 questions here, including my own. I might just begin with, as this begins, one of the effects of violent crime is the need for reactive services as well. Potentially fire personnel who are oftentimes the first to arrive on scene of a violent incident, or EMS. Would that be classified as an allowable use under the bill for some of the reactive services, not only proactive or preventative?
No, that's not what we're proposing. What we are proposing is strictly violence prevention and law enforcement. From our standpoint, at least in the city of Detroit, we feel good about our funding levels on fire prevention. In fact, fires are down 50% in this city in recent years because of the elimination of the abandoned buildings where so many fires were going. What we want to do is this. We want to be able to say to you as legislators that you'll be able to come out to our cities in 2024. You'll be able to point to the mental health respondents who are put in the police department. You'll be able to point to the community activists who are diffusing situations. You will be able to point to the additional police officers that are on patrol. And that's what we want to do. We want to be fully accountable and transparent. You fund this. It is new violence prevention services that you can point to and that we're held accountable to. So this is really a rifle shot. It's not anything broader than that.